It's February 27th, 2022, 2024. Outside, that's the level of recorded sunlight. I mean, my hand starts to disappear as it goes further out, but it's also so high you can't even see the trees or any of the outside, whatever's outside the window. Um, my eyes, it almost feels like a glaucoma. There's this weird taste on the tongue. I don't know if it's something that's in the breathable air. I don't know if it's something in some of the food that's coming through the supermarkets. I have no idea. But I'm inside this with the ONE and then Jackson for the White House on the back, which is the United States of America. It's the face of Federal Reserve, the United States of America, the ONE, and the In God We Trust with the GOD. So I'm inside of this, they call the state New York. There's 48 states in this area continentally. I don't I found out that there is an like outside of the 48 states, there's a representative from outside the 48 states inside a US Army position in New York. I don't know how that happened, but it's almost like my entry into like a service career with the United States has been blocked, and these are things I'm now recognizing as I'm asking questions, trying to figure out and then on the news, they have this like parallel conversation almost, which I'm trying to figure out how it equates out to what I experienced growing up. Again, the Korean and Chinese population were not abundant, at least it wasn't, I couldn't see their abundance in 1978. Um, there was no real speak of it. Um, there was nothing like Arabic back then at all. Um, and so, but now New York looks, in the year 2024, looks very different. Um, I'm not at my peak fitness or performance, and it just seems I have a broken bone. It just seems to be getting, I don't know how to get back to. So they speak of Russia, and I hear them speak of Russia, and I don't know anything about Russia except what they put on the television. But what I do see is I see Russia's president, and I see a Russia cabinet that looks uniform. It looks like somebody, a family that cares about their people, about their presence, about their visual appearance to the outside world. That's important. When I look at America, like especially from a New York perspective, it is like an assault on the eyes. It is just, oh my God. And it is visually harassment. It is psychological harassment. It is just, it's a disappointment as an adult. And then I'm looking for where, I mean, where is family? And so I want to think of North America, like in my heart of hearts, in my eo me eo, knowing what the inside of America is supposed to look like and knowing what a disappointment it looks like as a family representative, like to the outside world with the airwaves looking this way. So I'm listening to this thing where Ukraine is presenting it, which again looks very North African in or Algerian in their storytelling, maybe Israeli, I don't know, but telling a story that works for them with Israeli and Palestine kind of sort of like trying to make a way for themselves on the world stage. I don't know, perhaps. Um, So I'm watching this, and then I'm watching the microphones and the numerology between Trump and Nikki Haley within the Republican Party, and I'm like, and so I'm watching how this dance is being performed, and my personal, like, my heart of hearts is just absolutely broken over North America. It is just, like, on the world stage, it looks like Russia is doing really, really well, and in their performance, like a beautiful, beautiful prima ballerina, like, or like orchestrated concert of like beauty, and it just feels like North America at this point is bastardized. I don't know why. And it look like New York looks like it is just torn apart, like somebody just took, like, they went for a world cruise, took like a Noah's Ark, one of every kind, and then dumped it in New York Harbor. Oh God, it is like, and then I have to watch the television for like news, and not having any work, not having any future, and worried desperately for my own children. And then the news puts up there that there's this possibility that, like, my most beloved George Washington, General George Washington, and first President George Washington, of 48 interior states, might have done something to hurt me and my children. That I'm like, I'm built into this situation for love, for the love of my own kind, for the love of my management team, to root for the home team. But home is no longer looking, it looks like someone's like a vacationer's paradise, and they're just dumping problems into New York. And it's just, oh, it is, it's disheartening. It is. To watch it, to watch, it's like a disease process. I mean, I watch myself and I'm disgusted at what I look like every day, and then to have to watch this TV, it's like, and then it's like, it's psychologically damaging. It's like, how do you get out of this? Like, how do you find your footing and your way if your country stole you, your future, and your children's, the look of where your children's future's going? Like, how do you get that momentum back before it's completely gone? So I'm watching this Ukraine Russia conversation, and I'm trying to listen to it, and I'm trying to psychologically make sense out of it, considering that Russia has no history for me. I don't know their history. I don't know their government. I don't know their people. All I know is that Putin is always in front of a beautiful, like, he picks beautiful people to speak with, always. And then I look at what's surrounding Biden in the big, like, in his inauguration, and it looks like foreign national enemies, like, sitting at a carcass, and like Biden being that carcass, and like they're just pariah and piranha, just wanting Biden's microphone and wanting his power and wanting his money and attention and wanting his voice. That's what it really feels like, and that, again, very disheartening. So I don't know how they built Biden's administration, but it looks like there is some real issues going on, and I don't know if it's states outside of the 48. But I really don't understand why we only have 48 states that we have to worry about at the State Department with the White House, and then the rest is the foreign policy. So why are they not able to keep the interior clean and functioning like a well-oiled machine? I mean, like, this just doesn't make sense from like one child of the 48, and then of course the 50, but then that has to do with water and deliveries and shipments and containment, and that's a whole nother service area. So, or service department. So it gets real, like, I want to cheer for the home team, but it just seems like there's a lot of travel and leisure, and like the home team seems neglected, from like a child who really wants to have like the love of her home team and a well-oiled machine for protection. And seeming that it's almost, and I don't know how it happened, but almost like I got built out of the future of North America. And I don't know how that ever happened. And the evidence is like they kept me from being able to marry into the ONE and into the GOD, like in a male to female relationship where I could carry a child for an RH sensitive and be part of that union, that federation, that respectable family line. Somehow I got cast out into like this, and I'm listening to this story about like war in Ukraine, going like, is that what New York did? Because there seems to be a lot of Arabic and a lot of Chinese Koreans, and let's just say a lot of outside of the 48 states seems to be infesting and getting in to New York State, and I don't know how. So I'm listening to this report with that context because I don't know governments. I don't know wars. I don't know the families. I don't know even the corporate business names. I don't know. But I do know my journey, what happened to me. I know that it makes absolute no sense. And I know there's nobody to like even reach out to have like a heart to heart conversation. So that's why like I started addressing, like, if I was going to write the "In God We Trust" a letter, in like a "Dear In God We Trust," from a GOD to an ONE to a TWO with an ELF and an ELEVEN, just there's an 1111 in balance between a 1 to a 1 and an 11 to 11, for balance at 48, for interior, just knowing that my intentions are good. I don't know what happened to me and what's going to happen for the future of my children. And I want to get into good grace rather than left out in this dangerous imbalance.
7:30 now on CBS Mornings. We're back with a story about Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine entering its third year, and some of the youngest victims of that war, victims stolen from their homes, sharing their stories, and these are important. Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent and Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan spoke with 3 Ukrainian children, each under the age of 15. They are traveling the globe now to plead for help from the U.S. and other world powers. Margaret, this is a big one. Good morning to you.
And good morning to you, Tony. These kids are victims of Russia's alleged war crimes. The legal term is unlawful deportation. Ukraine's government calls it simply kidnapping, and President Biden called it an attempt to steal Ukraine's future. But these children are the lucky ones who reunited with family, and they are here in the U.S. to raise awareness.
So, like, I don't know, because I don't know the courts systems internationally or internally, but if they're using a way to use court papers in order to steal relationships away, from the RH, with the RH sensitivity blood type, for us to have children and for us to have a future. I don't know. I mean, theoretically, it's possible. I don't know if that's what happened. But at least that's like a logical place to begin to question. Um, and then I'm just watching this to see if the microphones are trying to earn points on the world stage for something else, a conflict that they have going on elsewhere. I don't know. But when I see Trump at an 88,022, and then Haley at an 843, she's got an 843, and then 2 other numbers. last night for a text. I'm like, oh, well, that explains that microphone system.
It has been almost 2 years since 13-year-old Sasha last saw his mother. In April 2022, Russian troops separated them at a so-called filtration camp like this one in eastern Ukraine. My mom is very beautiful, he said, the best. He pleaded with the soldiers to let them stay together. It's been a long time since you've seen her.
Yes. I go around the world to tell about my mom.
We met Sasha, 11-year-old Ilya, and 14-year-old Kira in New York before they went.
So I'm listening to how Ukraine looks at New York to hear how an outside state comes into the 48 and how they're even using New York, because that it's usury for as far as I'm concerned. Knowing the experience that I'm going through internally, and knowing, like yesterday I put up, the news showed me who's on an airfield, who is a child. I have children the same age, who's being taught to fly, knowing that my children are not being taught to fly, and knowing that they're not using commercial airfields, they're using private airfields, which is more concerning with air traffic control.
And to the United Nations to ask the world powers to stop Russia from stealing children. Is this what you imagined New York would look like?
Чи ви так уявляли собі Нью-Йорк?
Так.
No and yes.
Плюс-мінус так.
I thought there were flying cars there.
They shared with us the story that they later told leaders at the UN. Russian soldiers.
He just said that they have flying cars in Russia. I made a point yesterday that I wrote an essay specifically to the Board of Education that I did not think flying cars were a good idea. That was private, handwritten essay from my youth before time for marriage and childbearing years.
Captive after the siege of Mariupol and planned to send them to live with Russian families. You saw a video of Ilya on Russian TV?
Yes.
Ilya's grandmother told us she spotted her newly orphaned grandson in a Russian propaganda video, speaking from a hospital bed. He says he watched his mother die from a shrapnel wound to the head. A neighbor buried her in the backyard. Traumatized and unable to walk, he said his doctors coached him to praise Russia.
Будеш говорити не слава Україні?
You must say not glory to Ukraine, but glory to Russia.
Ukraine's government argues that Russia's plan is to erase Ukrainian identity. First it creates orphans, then it steals them. Russian state TV has broadcast these images of Vladimir Putin and children it claims were rescued from Mariupol. The head of what Russia calls its children's.
This is the only face of Russia Gorbachev and now President Vladimir Putin. Only face I've ever seen on Russia. And again, always speaks to beautiful people. That is all America ever shows.
Rights program, Maria Lvova-Belova, claims 700,000 kids were taken in as a humanitarian gesture. The International Criminal Court calls it forced deportation and issued arrest warrants last year for both of them. Ukraine's government is urging these children to share what happened to them.
So other countries know, Europe, America, that it's not fairy tale, that's really happening.
14-year-old Kira's grandfather told us that after his son died in a bombing, he feared he'd never see Kira again. Now Kyiv is struggling to pin down exactly how many children have been taken. Official records show at least 30,000 kids.
They're holding them.
Yale University's Nathaniel Raymond runs a U.S. government-funded initiative to track down Ukraine's stolen children. He says he's seen evidence of Russia giving some older children military training.
We have not yet seen evidence of the children being deployed in combat, but we have seen systematic efforts to turn them into soldiers.
Raymond compared taking children to using a nuclear weapon, one of the most destructive and dangerous acts imaginable. If Vladimir Putin is allowed to continue taking these children, what signal does it send to other world leaders?
It gives the green light to children being abducted in the wars of tomorrow. It says that the international community will not stop kidnappers.
These children hope that sharing their pain makes a difference. Sasha said he's going to try to do everything so somebody hears him. Now, CBS News cannot independently confirm details shared by the grandparents of how they used a complex network and Ukrainian government help to retrieve their grandchildren. Kyiv tells us that's classified. Only 300 or so children have been returned, and there has been no major transfer negotiated by world leaders. It's getting harder to retrieve kids now. With U.S. financial support for Ukraine now in question, that, Nate, may also imperil international efforts.
These kids reflect just one of the ripple effects of this conflict. Margaret, thank you. Ahead, an incredible gift to medical.
So it almost looks like they almost put like Russia as like utopia. There's only one face of Russia. There's only limited on the C, the BS, and on the Channel 7. So Channel 2 and Channel 7, those are the only two I have access to. And then there is like the view of New York, which looks completely dystopian. So I'm going to pause this for a second. Here it says transformational tuition gift. This is the crowd. They're saying that they got a gift from Warren Buffett, or I don't know, Albert Einstein College of Medicine. I'll put it on. But these are the faces of the next generation of doctors in New York. None of them fit my medical needs and necessity. I don't have access to like medical school to get my medical degree. Here they are getting medical degrees, and they're not even the level of medicine that I need now or my children might need in the future. And here we are at almost, I call this sunlight, but this looks like some form of photon quasar possibility with telecommunications. And I don't know where this level of science is handled. I don't know if it's an internal North American science project. I don't know if it's an outside. I don't know how that level of airspace is handled at the moment, based on the fact of like where I am with a broken ankle. So this is what this looks like.
Students here in New York City. David Begnaud is here to show us how it's already changing lives of future doctors. This is CBS Mornings on CBS.
So this is not what the television looked like when I was growing up at all. I wasn't really allowed to watch television. I just know that that is not what the hosts of the New York airwaves looked like growing up. It was a very uniformed front of what the United States of America looked like. Now it seems to be changing, and it seems to be under attack like daily. It's like psychological warfare. It's like visual harassment. It's a lot. And then to know that they've enhanced the network to this dangerous level to get this result into the New York airwaves, that's a problem. It's star 1978, star 8378. I'm going to pause this for a second because there is a part on a Broadway show, which again, it's stuff I won't go to the theater to see, but they're showing just all sorts of different theater groups. Again, it's nothing that, it doesn't make my heart sing. It doesn't make me like cheer for New York. It's more of this just like. So this is the.
We have visibility.
It'll be her way or no way. Yeah.
I don't think he or Joe Biden should be president.
We have visibility reports of less than a quarter of a mile.
Optimistic that we will see some improvements this afternoon with some sunshine. Looking for a warm.
So that was interesting this morning. There was some kind of weird fog. I went into the living room and through the window. I mean, again, I've got this hazy thing going on, this weird taste on the tongue that I can't get rid of. I don't know what it's coming from. I don't know what vector it's coming from. But then I look out the window and I can discern the fogginess outside of the window as opposed to the photon light coming in and giving me that haziness. I can tell the difference between an outside haze and an internal haze.
Warm day. Foggy, then mild, turns stormy tomorrow.
What kinds of things are we going to notice if this becomes Phoenix Meadows?
We're going to see literally all greenery.
He's one of a group asking for parkland in their backyard instead of the entertainment complex and casino proposed by billionaire Steve Cohen.
We have to weigh the pros and cons very carefully.
Now, when I took my youngest son to Citi Field for an American baseball game with Zion Church, Father Carl is the one who invited the parishioners. And of course, it was a Mets baseball game. Of course, I was going to go with the church with my son. It just made sense. I got this thing going on, writing to the God and the ONE. And so and of course I want my son to be raised in the correct WASP way of being. So I take him to this American baseball game, and there are Korean war drums being like war theater outside of Citi Field and it was Korean Heritage Night. And I'm like, wow, of all the nights that we could have come to a baseball game, this is the night you choose, really? So that was really interesting, just in I really live very hermitage, but it's, in the small bit of trying to get out of, how do I find my way from now, until whenever, where is my one? That one romantic that you dream of, because toilet paper was not what I dreamed of. It's not acceptable. And and the last time that the machine broke, again, if we're a machine inside of a larger machine, the last time the machine broke, and I found my energy read, however that works, in the whatever. When I found my, let's call it, for this instance, I can't even call it a JMG, but I was sitting on a bar stool, and how in Star Trek, how they touch that thing and it's energized, and then their energy, but between the density of what I am at the moment in human and some form of a hologram, in that transport phase, I was sitting on a stool in my full density, and that energy read was there, and it was just this embrace, and it was just this telepathic message of, I already know about the first date, the 99 date. He was holding, it was almost like I could see he was holding some kind of index card, but he wanted to meet with me because he did not know what this 5-15-15 meant. Around his whatever he works with or at in the machine beyond the machine. He was working on something, and he said, why am I being told that there's another date coming up? Did it happen? Did it not happen? And I was sitting on the stool. I'm like, I don't know. What date are we in? Like, I mean, in the sequencing chronologic of time, when you quantum leap, where am I? I mean, so that was the whatever and the whatever. But I know he was not anticipating a blacksmith marriage date, nor was I. When I went to Canada, I had no intentions of marrying Tiafreu. It was, again, like toilet paper following me around. So, I don't know. So here we are. And so again, here's this theater and this projection of theater, more psychological torture, more psychological harassment, more sexual exploit, if you will. Like, I mean, it is just every day. It's so continuous. I've documented it. But here, this is this morning's like dose of disgusting reality.
Well, if you're looking for a musical that is sure to get you dancing, then the New York City Center Encore's production of Jelly's Last Jam should be high on your list. It tells the story of Jelly Roll Morton, who claimed to be the inventor of jazz, and features all-star performances from some of Broadway's biggest stars. Joaquin Calacango joins us now to discuss this incredible performance.
It's like being trapped and tortured daily, visually, and not knowing how to get out of it. Besides the fact of, like, the relationship. There is no relationship with Tiafreu. It's a hi bye. That's it. So, and he was from Falco. It was almost like a baton, me being the baton handed off. If I look back on how did it even begin, it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.